So we're 7 tournaments into the new campaign, and obviously I've got 2 of the game's great pundits alongside me who watch more snooker combined than well, Alan watches a lot of snooker. So I thought I'd ask them for kind of hot takes of the season so far, possibly controversial views, talking points, hills that you will die on, as the young people say these days. I'll start in the spirit of fairness. My hot take of the season so far is, in 10 years, more than half the top 16 will be Chinese players. And that follows on from what we've been talking about. I feel like at the moment we see a lot of streaky talents like who dominate individual tournaments, but they can't put it together. But I just feel like the general trend is, as these players become more streetwise and get more experience, it feels as if they're just producing exciting talent faster than any other country, basically.
I tend to agree with you more than disagree, partly because I don't see many a lot of young talent coming from these shores. We've got Stan Moody coming along. We've got 2 or 3 others that show promise, but they're not getting to the business end of tournaments. It seems to be every
not like
tournament.
The Chinese players are.
There's a different Chinese player getting to the semi-finals or the quarterfinals, semi-finals. A different player every tournament. So there's so many that are. It kind of goes on to what my sort of take is going to be, but kind of like there's no fear factor. When they're playing well, and they're just going to go shoot through the tournament. So I would agree with you more than disagree.
It kind of leads on, Mark, to, in some way, if I can put my hot take on the back end of yours. All right, is that, and the way I put this is that and this is young players in general now, but Chinese players maybe in particular for a few reasons, is that, in my opinion, they hit the ball better, but they don't play better. And I think that's one of the reasons why we know the names, the class of 92, the Murphys, the Robertsons, the Selbys, and all these Mark Allens that are going to continue to rule the roost, in my opinion. I think when, again, harking back to the good old days, but it's when you come through as a kid, unless you're different. Stephen was different, right? So it's difficult for him to probably think this one out, because he was a bit of a freak, like Ronnie was and a couple others.
He is a freak. We're happy saying that. Yeah.
But still a freak in a different way.
I think players are kind of always, you're a product of your environment, and the environment back in the 80s, 90s, I'm talking about young guys coming through, you would learn how to play snooker before you really, or sort of while you were learning how to hit the ball properly. I think now, I don't know, because I don't spend any time in the academies in Sheffield where there's a lot of Chinese youngsters playing, but it seems to me like, I would imagine if I went in and watched a couple of them having a session, and not a drinking session.
To be clear, once again, what we mean by session,
it would be like a potting competition, a scoring competition, and that's all good and that's all fine and well. But I do think they miss out and they lack on streetwise snooker, all that stuff. I just do. I mean, there's not many of them. I mean, Yan Bingtao was one who was pretty clever. He developed it at quite a young age. But most of the rest of them, and I think that's why, and I agree with Stephen, you see a fleeting glimpse of some players. 1 week it's Gudong, the next week it's someone else, and then another one, and there's no consistency. They get picked off too often on their journey.
Yeah, I think I would qualify my answer saying I agree or disagree by saying there needs to be more consistency with each Chinese player, rather than, as I say, one player is getting to the next, then it's a different Chinese player the semi-final the next tournament. That one first needs to be doing it all the time for them to get for them to be, as you say, half the top 16. Well, to be Chinese.
Sorry, Stephen. Here's another one, and I'm not digging you out here actually, because I kind of agreed with you at the time. It was about 3 years ago. Just to pick out one of the young players, Yan Sijun, was looking good, and he just hasn't done much. I know he's still up. He's around about just outside the top 32, I think. So he's doing okay, but he's not kicking on, and he doesn't seem to be improving. So whether that, I don't know why, but I suspect that it's like that. I mean, I played him probably 5 years ago, and he hit the ball like 90. He was like going through it, but he wasn't he doesn't know how to push people around, as I always call it. During matches.
I mean, what sort of a culture of coaching is there out there? Because there's not been another generation of players yet. So is it that? Are they just sort of all kind of making it up as they go along a little bit? Because there can't be any senior figures or not any Chinese ones to coach them.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, obviously they must be being coached technically. They very well by, I don't know who's doing it, but they're all very straight. All the lines are where you want them to be as far as their physicality playing.
They're beautiful technicians. Yeah.
Mixing it up a little bit when here's the best example of it is Mark Allen. He's won 6 tournaments in the last 2.5 years, something like that. Would he have won those had he not changed the way that he played? Probably not.
Yeah. I mean, what I would say as well about a lot of the Chinese players, they don't have a B game. So that's why you see a different Chinese player in every tournament doing well, because if they're not playing, they're playing well. You don't see them getting it. They don't have a game to fall back on. And that's what I see anyway. When the likes of CJ Wei, if he's not playing the way he played last week in Wuhan, he generally loses early. That's consistency. That comes, so you could turn a first round defeat into maybe a quarterfinal place, and those ranking points are obviously getting you up the ranking systems. CJ
Wei, the final was done. He was 9-4 behind the other day, and he just started throwing his cue at the ball. I don't like that. Find a way to get back in instead of just lashing, where actually you go back a few weeks, and Wu Yiza, who I'm a massive fan of and have been for a few years, he played his way back into the match against Marcel, but he didn't. It wasn't get abandoned and just having a go at everything. But I mean, it's a learning process. Obviously, they're both very young.
Yeah, Wu Yiza almost pulled off an unbelievable comeback in that final. And that shows what you're talking about. There's almost never a time when you can give it up, is there? Because you just win a couple of frames, and however big the lead is, the other player's going to start to get nervous, I suppose. And it's interesting what you say, Stephen, about the B game, because Trump has said in a couple of tournaments this year, I don't think I'm playing my best. And he's been on the verge of going out. Obviously, in Saudi Arabia, he's nearly out before he even started. But maybe that's what's missing. Like Trump has found a way to win, whether he's really on it or not. And you couldn't say that about. Whereas a lot of these players are either brilliant or not far in. But if they're not, they're going to lose, I suppose. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's what separates the best from the rest is that they can win well, not like not all guns blazing. It's like they're maybe winning tournaments sometimes 70%, 80%. As I say, that's what separates the top players in the game from everyone else.
So do we disagree or agree with the idea with my hot take? Stephen said he broadly agrees. What it hinges on is whether enough of them can come through and show enough consistency.
If you went to 15 years, I would definitely agree. 10 years might be a wee bit.
Because we said 10 years ago that it would happen.
True, that's true.
With Ding and one or two others. But I tend to disagree 60%. But then you obviously, it could happen. And there's every chance of it,
Well, we'll have you back on in 10 years, and then if not, then 15 years. And so then Alan's hot take is basically that players hit the ball better now, but they don't play better. Young players. What's your hot take, Stephen?
My hot take is, and it's something that's sort of it's a little bit personal to me as well, obviously, but none of these top players have the fear factor anymore. No one's scared of the best players anymore. I don't like it. I like people. I like people themselves when they play me. That's what
you like. Total domination.
What do you know? I remember one time I played Terry Griffiths, and look, people's going to say, "Oh, the standards are different. Okay, fair enough. But I'm just going generally on what I like. I'd like to see fear in people's faces when they play the best players. Terry Griffiths had his suitcase packed in the room before he played me in Thailand. Ready to go. I like that. That's. I mean, okay, that's kind of joking a wee bit, but I just the top players don't seem to have it anymore over the other players.
You wouldn't say that even Ronnie has that.
Ronnie is best, yes, yeah. I think Ronnie's best at it. But whether have we seen the best of Ronnie? I don't know. That's maybe another hot take for another time. But yeah, I mean, it's just I don't. You still get the odd match where people will play a set with and they just don't play it. But generally, I see throughout a whole season, I don't see a lot of fear. and players, and that I mean, I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I mean, it's you know, you should go to a table and not be scared of top. But me as being a top player, I enjoyed that, and I think partly going back to the obviously we're joking about talking backstage and being familiar with all the.
I was
going to
ask if you thought this was connected with it, if the atmosphere
definitely.
is just different now. Yeah,
definitely. So yeah, that's my. I just you know. The fading of likes of Robertson. He's won the English Open. Robertson, Selby's come back to form. Yeah, but everyone was beating him. Everyone was beating Robertson. Everyone was beating. You know, I don't know. It's a personal thing, but I don't like the fact.
You'd like to see a couple more just absolute monsters emerge, who everyone is terrified to play.
Yeah, and just if a lower ranked player went to talk to him, growl at them. You know, just like don't even speak to them. It's like
yeah. I think I'd agree as well that there's no one with the same killer mentality as Stephen now, because O'Sullivan's the best we've got, but he's too in and out in that way. And Judge and they also, I definitely agree that everyone is nicer than Stephen used to be, which is part of his take.
But there's also, I think, a collective excellence in every part of the rankings. You know, you go from 20 to 40. That a lot of them are bloody good. You know, really good. Stuart Bingham's, but he's in the 20 odds and whatever. You know, so. But yeah, I get the point. Absolutely.
Yeah, there's a depth of quality down there which you maybe didn't have at one time. So that's part of it. You know that anyone in the 20s, 30s, 40s knows they can hurt a top player on the day.